Those new full-body scanners at airports across the country are coming under fire once again, as passengers now are forced to choose between that and an invasive pat-down. In San Diego, John Tyner recorded his run-in with TSA security with his cell phone. The TSA threw him out of the airport, and the video became an internet sensation. But Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano continues to defend TSA procedures.
It would be unwise, to say the least, irresponsible of us at the TSA, at the Homeland Security Department, not to evolve our technology to match the changing threat environment that we inhabit.
Joining us now to discuss is Judge Andrew Napolitano, host of Freedom Watch on the Fox Business Network. Good morning to you, Judge.
Good morning.
All right, so it's a complicated case. Here's my fear. If we have more John Tyners who, say I'm not going to do the body scanner and you can't do the pat down to me, won't we have chaos at the airports?
Well, the chaos will be caused by the government forcing us to make a choice between radiation to the body, which can seriously harm a lot of people, and this gross pornographic violation of human dignity, whereby children are touched in their private parts, women, men, older folks are touched in their private parts in a way which is actually a crime. It's actually a sexual assault to touch someone's private body parts without their consent. So how is the government, without a vote by the Congress, putting us in this bind? The government is looking for more than security. The government is looking for pushback. The government is looking for control. The government is looking for excuses. It is not keeping us safe. It is violating our dignity.
But didn't the American public ask and request for better security at airports so we didn't have to continue to take off our shoes and throw away our liquids? And now we have it. And now we don't like it.
Well, we don't like it because it violates our sense of self-worth and dignity, that we should have to choose between the government having a picture of us naked, which we know they keep, and which we know they look at, and which we know they pass around from government employee to government employee, and the touching of private parts. You're a mother of little children.
Right.
Do you want some thug squeezing the private parts of your babies?
And that happened to my 4-year-old after the Christmas Day bomber, and I said last night on the O'Reilly Factor I thought that was extreme for children. I think they're going to change the rules to 12 and above. But here's my point, is that would we rather be blown up by a terrorist on an airplane?
That is not the choice. The choice is between reasonable procedures to keep us reasonably safe and draconian measures that only an authoritarian state would impose upon us. And it is the duty of the government to find something that will keep us safe without assaulting our individual dignity. And they haven't done it.
Down to just pat downs. One makes you poor, the other, well, just peed. One leaves you groping for financial answers, the other, well, just groped. And don't airports across the country know it today? Reports today of record numbers of angry passengers who have had it with pat-downs they say are over the top, and scanning machines that go beyond the pale. In Washington, at this very hour, it is all anyone is talking about at a hearing on air security. TSA agents getting too touchy and way too feely. Now to the guy urging them to do something about it. Skip the scanner that shows you in your birthday suit and go right to the TSA dude who will touch your birthday suit. It is all part of Brian Sodegren's optoutday.com, and guess which day he wants to do it. Next Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, one of the busiest travel days of the year. A nationwide pat-down that could seriously slow down airport security lines and air travel in general. He joins us on the phone. Brian, your goal is what? That you're telling and advising, urging flyers to go ahead and opt for the pat-down, that it will cause incredible long lines. It'll get the message through that we've had enough, but you could have horrendous delays, right?
Neil, well, you already have incredibly long lines as it is, so I don't know what this is going to change. My goal is to get folks educated on the new security procedures. I don't think most folks are aware of the naked body scanners and the enhanced pat-down, and I want people to, before they fly, to educate themselves, understand what their rights are. And that TSA does give you the option to opt out. You don't have to worry and go through the scanner. You can just go ahead and get the enhanced pat-down. So that's what I'm
But you have to do one or the other, right, Brian? I mean, you can't dodge both, right?
No, you have to do one or the other, and, which is understandable from a, security perspective. You have to go through some layer of security. But, what I want to have happen is for people, after they go through this, if they're as aggrieved as I am about it and thinks it's as outrageous as I do, I want folks to write the member of Congress. I think the only way to change the situation is legislatively. So that's why I'm urging folks to follow the directions, do what TSA says, but just take them up on their offer to opt out.
Yeah, but Brian, if everyone did what you said, if even half the flyers next week did what you said, I mean, no one's going to get to grandma's.
Look, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict the future. I'm not tracking how many people are doing this sort of thing. So, I don't know. Folks are already opting out right now. As TSA has said themselves, every day is an opt-out day.
When you say an opt-out day, what they're opting out of is the one where you would go to the scanner that sees in your birthday suit, right? You're opting out of that, and you're preferring the personal touch, so to speak.
Correct.
All right. There is no middle ground, right? I mean, the days where you could just go through a normal security device that didn't look at you in the birthday suit, or certainly didn't have a TSA agent feeling your birthday suit, those days are gone, I guess, right?
Well, from my understanding, the scanners, the machines are not deployed yet at every airport. I think they would like to get there. And, from my understanding, the enhanced pat-downs are probably being implemented at more and more places. So, I mean, we're getting to a point in this country where, we need to take a step back and really have a discussion on privacy versus security. You had the House of Representatives pass legislation that said, these body scanners shouldn't be used as a primary security device. They should only be used after you set off some bells and whistles and then go through it as secondary security. I agree with that. I think it's a much more reasonable position, and I hope the Senate would act and take it up.
We shall watch it. You might have created a firestorm, young man. Brian Sodergren, we'll see what happens next week.
All right. Thank you, Neil.
All right. Do our air travelers, do you have a right to opt out? Let's ask Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Napolitano. What do you think, Judge?
I think what the government is doing is a violation of the Constitution and a violation of human dignity. Think about the millions of Americans who have pacemakers, artificial knees, artificial hips. They have no choice. They cannot subject these devices in their bodies to the radiation, so they have to go through the pat-down. Yesterday, a friend of mine, a successful businessman who's between your age and mine, who flies twice a week between Texas and New York, informed me, he has an artificial knee, that his shirt was ripped, his jacket was taken off him, his pants were zipped down, and the TSA agent looked inside of the pants in a public airport while strangers watched. That is not the government that we voted for.
They're not even doing this in a private room.
No, they have no right to do this. This is a search which is protected under the Constitution and from the government doing without a warrant.
Now, what do you make of the argument, as embarrassing for some, as humiliating as this is, if it keeps them safe in the sky, worth the embarrassment on the ground?
There is a point beyond which human beings will not go, and that point is called slavery. And when one stands in a public place while a federal agent touches one's private parts and opens one's zipper and one's pants for everyone to see, that is a form of slavery, and the Constitution prohibits that from being visited upon us. Neil, this was not done by a vote of the Congress. This was not done by a vote of the people.
When did this start with either the machine or the touchy-feely? This is a recent phenomenon.
It started about a month ago by an order issued by Janet What's-Her-Name. You know exactly of whom I speak. The head of...
She's not a relative.
She is not a relative.
Don't get so touchy.
The head of Homeland Security.
Right.
Who was reacting to the types of things that happened in foreign airports, the types of things that happened on Christmas Day last year with the underwear bomber. But as your last guest just pointed out, there are ways to put people through levels of security so that people with pacemakers and artificial knees, so that women and children, so that even guys like you and I don't have to be groped unless there's some indication that there's some contraband there worthy of groping.
You seem upset.
Well, I'm upset when the Constitution is taken for granted.
But the argument is for this, and believe me, I agree with you on all levels here, that if we get lax on this sort of stuff, the clever terrorist is going to find a way around it and sneak some awful stuff on a plane and kill us.
If we allow the government to debase and dehumanize us, it's not worth getting on that plane. Would you rather perish or live as a slave? It's getting to that point.
Well, I'd like to get to Chicago.
I'd like to get to Chicago, too, but with my human dignity intact.
So you're going to take a bus?
I may just have a confrontation with a Fox crew.
You have your own bus, don't you? We know the TSA chief is getting all hell on this at this hearing going on right now. It was supposed to be about security. It has everything now to do with just this whole touchy.
He has the unlikely name of Pistol. No comment.
You see, that was not necessary. That was not
That's
necessary.
his name.
I understand that. All right.
Cousin Janet, would you come on Freedom Watch?
Speaking of which, the Judge's hit show is out now. For those of you who used to have to wait every week, it's every night, 8 p.m. on Fox Business Network, and he gets really worked up about stuff.